A very good morning to one and all present here. I thank the organizers for inviting me to my very first TEDx talk today. It's definitely going to be very special since this is the maiden one. Thank you very much once again. So diving straight back into the topic, the reason why I came here and what I'm going to be speaking about, it's basically myself and my evolution over the years. Talking about myself, 15 years ago, I was this very shy, socially awkward. I lacked confidence, and that was the kind of person I was about 15 years ago. An 18-year-old me was very, very socially awkward. I lacked confidence. It took immense courage for me to even look people in the eye, make eye contact, and make a regular conversation. It wasn't easy for me. Probably it's the setting where I came from. My parents, having had difficult childhood themselves, were very, very safe and secure and very exclusive. They were reserved themselves. So as a family, we were very close-knit and we were very reserved. So my world was literally my parents, my siblings, my grandparents who would visit us very often. So that was the safe and protected environment that I grew up in. So that probably explains my social interactions were just limited to my family. We were social, not to the extent, not overtly social, but yes, barely there. So probably that's what made me the person I was years ago. So what was my sanctuary and what was my escape? My sanctuary back then was books. When I was in standard 4, grade 4, an 8-year-old me, I was very fascinated and intrigued by people who read books. I thought that automatically made them very intellectual. It was very alluring to watch somebody read. And I wanted to also start reading. So what I did was, I went to my library at school, and I went and picked up my very first book. And it was from the famous British children's author, very hugely popular, called Enid Blyton. One of the series, the famous 5 series. I don't know if you've heard of it, Gen Z. Enid Blyton is still popular, I'm sure, and you would know. So I went and picked up one of the titles called The Famous 5 Went Off in a Caravan. I brought the book back home and I struggled to start reading it. I sifted through pages. And to be honest, nothing made sense to me. But I had this inner burning desire that I have to complete a book, no matter I understand it or not. I want to start finishing cover to cover. I want to tell everybody they've read a book. That was the silent achievement that I wanted to brag about. So I took a book and I started reading. The words didn't make sense to me. The lines didn't make sense to me. The paragraphs were long. It was my very first book. It was overwhelming at the beginning. But still, I never gave up. I wanted to tell everybody I finished a book. So all of those 250 pages I read. And I went and told my immediate family, see, I've read a book. And they were quietly proud of my little achievement. That yes, she has read a book. So what I did was, I didn't stop at that. I wanted to go back and pick up another book. So went back to the library. You know, Enid Blyton has a huge collection. So I went and picked up another book. Right from Famous 5 to Secret 7 to the Naughty series. There's plenty of books that Enid Blyton has written. So went and picked up another book of the Famous 5 series, and I came back home. And this time, when I actually read, I could savor every word. I could relish every moment that I read. Words started to form meanings. Paragraphs transported me into a world of adventure. I started getting absorbed. I started getting hooked. It became my sanctuary. It became the world that I wanted to be in. It became my escape. So books were my escape. It was my sanctuary. Whenever we would go, my parents would take me out to our family functions or gatherings or parties. I would always clutch a book in my hand, and I would sit in the corner and read. It's just that I wanted to avoid social interactions. I really don't know what to speak. I can't make eye contact. Basically, I was terrified of being judged. I didn't want to be judged about the way I spoke, about the way I looked, about the way I responded, because I was highly underconfident, like I said. So I would sit in the corner with my book, totally absorbed into it. So that's basically what I wanted to tell you. You just need that little push to keep you going. You need self-motivation at times. You don't need an external person to motivate you. You need your own inner motivation. So I'm so glad that I pushed myself into this good habit of reading, which I think transported me into a world of unlimited imagination. And today, because of my reading, right from Victorian romances to thrillers to adventures, I was transported to a world from various cultures and contexts. So I knew a lot about the world through my books. So even when I traveled abroad, when I went to England, for example, I even knew what marmalade on toast was. I knew what custard jams were. I knew what jam tarts were, thanks to the iconic food references that Enid Blyton gave it. So I'm telling you, children, please read. It will widen your horizon. It will take you places. And you will form unexpected connections everywhere you go. And like I said, push yourself into a habit that will transform you as a person. Now, of course, knowledge alone is not enough. As I grew into my teenage years and my middle and high school, it became very evident that I need to develop my social skills. I would see in my class a lot of my peers, my classmates, voluntarily offering to join these competitions. There were several opportunities in school that came up. One was to join the choir, one was to go perform in a play, one was to participate in sports. I would be astounded and amazed at the fact that they would volunteer and say, yes, I want to participate. I did not have that courage to say I want to participate. Instead, I would retract into a shell, and that would be my comfort zone. So I struggled through those years. And of course, I had my share of people calling me, of course, labeling me that she's very shy, I don't think she should be playing this part. And a lot of times I was told that I don't think she'll be able to do it. I think she might fumble. It might be a bad show. I don't think she should take center stage. And all of those things, those labels, that actually gave me a lot of reflecting that I wanted to do as a person. I wanted to have a stronger identity than just being a polite face. I wanted my personality to stand out, to have a stronger meaning, to have depth and substance. And in the midst of all of that, I was trying to figure out what kind of a person I really wanted to be. And I must thank my dad, who's been the mentor. Throughout my educational journey, he has been guiding me what I should be doing. He said, Nafisa, tomorrow you have to manage a group of schools. So you have to learn business management, you have to arm yourself with a degree and equip yourself with the skills required to manage a group like that. So he put me on BBM at Mount Carmel College, Business Management. And following that, I did my master's in international management at the University of London, Royal Holloway. So my father said one thing to me. He said that, Nafisa, see, you're a girl, you're a woman. At any given point of time in life, you never know what turn life will take. So the best thing that you will give to yourself is education and independence. You have to stand on your own feet, no matter who your father is, no matter who your husband is, no matter who your brother is. A woman, for that matter, everybody. But particularly, I don't know, he was stressing on the fact that I'm a woman because we live in a deeply patriarchal society. So he said, you have to stand on your own feet, you have to be independent. So he pushed me into doing my education throughout. So while I was here, I learned the daily struggles of running a school, the daily operations, running transport, handling the staff concerns, dealing with parents, just the day-to-day running of a school. It was a great learning for me. If you ask me, I would have preferred going to Presidency RT Nagar because that's my school I grew up going to. But there is something in me that if I get a challenge thrown at me, I like taking it. So even though it was a different part of the city for me to travel, I like taking up something out of the ordinary. It was out of my comfort zone, but because my father said I have to do it, I did it. I went ahead with his instructions, and I came here. I started, initial first weeks were a little hard. It was an unfamiliar territory for me, unfamiliar people. The more I got to know people, the more I started mingling and making connections, I started feeling more at home. So challenge yourself, come out of your comfort zones, because once you do that, you will truly unlock your potential. It will be a test of strength of your character and your unlimited potential. So while I came here, I was so glad for that opportunity because from ground up, I learned the nuts and bolts of running a school, especially with an organization that still managed to find its feet, which is very relatively new. While I was just beginning to get a sense of things, I think I was here for a couple of years, and it was also the crossroads of my life. I was just about to get married. I was not married at that point when I was working here. I was about to be married, and we had sports day, an annual day, just 2 months before my wedding. And I was out in the field, and some of the teachers came and told me, "Ma'am, you're getting married. Please stay indoors. You have to look fair on the wedding. Your complexion should glow." But I never really thought of any of those things. I just went with the flow. One fine day, sir calls me and says, "Nafisa, with effect from next week, you're going to report to corporate office." I was like, "What? I was just beginning to get my feet here, and then you're saying that I need to report?" And then that's another thing. He shook me again out of my comfort zone, and I had no choice but to comply. So off I went to the corporate office, and I was assisting Dad, managing his emails, doing a little bit of HR, learning the ropes of administration. But I wasn't satisfied because I hadn't found my true calling. I was doing all these mundane, odd administrative jobs. One day, one fine evening, I was actually reading an article about creative library spaces and how storytelling can be brought alive. And I was showing it to my father. See this, how wonderful it is and things like that. And he noticed that I have an inclination towards the creative arts and curriculum development. He said, "Nafisa, I think I'm going to set up a curriculum department for you, and I think you should lead it." My father has an innate instinct to recognize people's potential and their inclination. So he immediately set that up for me. In the year 2013, I started the curriculum department with the support of my father, with barely 2 data operators and I think a couple of resource people. I was brimming with excitement because I had plenty of online resources and books, and I was waiting to implement them at schools without realizing what challenges awaited me. I had no idea of the ground reality, especially when it came to teaching learning. So all my beautiful, flowery ideas I put into the curriculum, and I thought this was the best that could get until it went to school and it fell flat. That's when reality hit me. And it says, not everything in the world is rosy. You have to get a ground sense of reality. You have to work with hands-on. You should know the teacher's problems, what the classroom problems are. You cannot just expect things to be like, magically wave a wand and things would happen. So those years were difficult for me. I was also newly married. I was finding my feet at my new home. Plus, I was trying to figure out how this thing works at school. And at the same time, it was overwhelming, but it was a journey. The biggest challenge for me was to gain acceptance from the leaders. My father has a huge legacy, and his aura overshadows everything. So to be able to create my own identity in the midst of his larger-than-life legacy, it was a huge challenge. So for me to gain acceptance of the senior leaders itself was a big challenge. First of all, I'm very small to look at itself, and I have a very feeble voice. But then during meetings, I'm a very sharp learner. That's one thing I think I'm very good at. I can grasp things very fast. My inner strength is I love proving people wrong. If they say that Nafisa can't do this, I want to prove them wrong, and I say I can do it. A lot of times people said that I don't think she can handle this. This assignment is huge when it came to probably designing the administrative side of planning of instructional part of the curriculum. I don't think she can do it. But I want to go exactly and prove them wrong that I can do it and do an even better job than what would be expected. So that's one thing. If people say that you can't do it, you have to go outright and say that you can do it. Now that she's married, I think once she has a child, she'll definitely stop because she has to take care of the children. I had my first child, and I still continued. And I think Once you set an example that this woman is unstoppable, she will not stop. No matter what life's milestones she's going through, I think people started to sit up and take notice that this woman is here to stay. And I think no matter what life's milestone she's going through, she's going to continue. So this is, especially coming from me, being a woman, I think no matter what stage or phase in life that you are going through, you can maneuver around it. And I had the incredible support of my husband and my in-laws, without which I wouldn't have been able to pursue my dreams. So coming back to the curriculum, what I was talking about is, so it's been 15 years. We've been refining it, making it into a shape that it is today, thanks to my incredible team that has worked so hard day and night to make it what it has happened. I would like to say that it has been an incredible journey. From the very beginning, being unassuming, being a novice, being inexperienced, to what I am today, far more confident to lead. And today, I not just manage the curriculum and academics, but I also manage the operations of running the group of schools. So this wouldn't have been support without, continuously learning throughout your life. There is one line from the famous book called Alchemist. I don't know if you've read the book. It's a very old bestseller, one of the iconic bestsellers. It says that if you pursue something with great passion, and if you work towards it with unwavering dedication every day, then the universe will conspire for you to meet that goal. I don't know if you've read that or if you've come across that. So somewhere along the journey, initially when I faced setbacks, rejections or failures, I felt that my stars were not aligning. But when I pursued with dogged determination, I didn't let failures unsettle me or stop me. I continued with resilience and grit and purpose. I could somewhere see that yes, the universe is listening to me, God is listening to me, because I could see things tying up. And that's when I felt that yes, I feel that somewhere now, I'm yet to meet my goal, but somewhere I can feel the stars aligning now. So I hope that with that message, I'd like to conclude and say that no matter what you do in life, if you feel that, there are challenges or roadblocks, never give up. You have to keep going, because like I said, if you keep going, even the stars will align for you to achieve your goal. So it has taken it years for me to reach where I am today, but it wouldn't have happened if I had given up in the middle. Please keep going with your journey in life and follow with relentless passion. And on that note, I would like to conclude my talk today.